Hello, shitheads. Welcome to another episode of Show Us Your Shit. Last night was a proper absolute shit show, obviously, because the reception of our guest didn't work. Jeff Lloyd was on, then off, then sitting in his cupboard, then as close to his router as possible. Didn't work. Tonight's going to be even more interesting because I don't think our guest has actually showed up. So I think we might be in a situation of not having the guest that we need. Although I see one of his bandmates has joined, which is Mark BURROWS, who I used to work with. So worst case scenario, Mark, if you're give me a shout out, Mark, if you're watching us right now. If you're online, we could do this show with you. I know you don't know what the show is, but I know, classic Andrew, man. He's probably just running a bit late, but we could just do it with a whole new guest on the spot. Mark, the idea is that this show is where we ask interesting people about all the interesting stuff that they have in their house, just to show it to us. I know you'll have a bunch of stuff in your house, so let's give Andrew a few minutes. Let's see if he rocks up. If not, bust out an anecdote. Well, give me a subject. Someone give me a subject, and I'll see if I've got an anecdote for it. I'll try my best. Andrew, if he does come on, is going to be very exciting. I know, off to a promising start. This is new territory. Every new show seems to be descending into a new type of shit. It's like Apollo 13, this show. You think you've recovered, and then something new just chucks itself into the mix. So you're right, this is a record, asking the guest after the show is started. Mark, what do you reckon? Could you come on if this is a Andrew abandoned? Yeah, so Andrew owns things like a skull. But we could talk about your new book. Mark's just written a book about Terry Pratchett. He's just written a whole biography about him, and he has a lot of pop in his house. So yeah, awesome. I knew you would be. So why don't you gather a few items, and we'll see if Andrew rocks up or not. Andrew is an amazing character. Mark is saying classic Andrew because he knows him. I don't know this side of no shorts tonight. Wearing trousers tonight. So Mark is Andrew O'Neill, amazing stand-up comedian. He's also in this band, which Mark is in as well, which is... and see, Batesy 1 could do it as well. We could turn this into Shit Club Mark 2 already. Mark 2 with an actual Mark. That could be very exciting. So if Andrew doesn't show up, let's definitely do that. In fact, we could just go ahead and do it, and then if he shows up, we'll pause on whoever the guest is and bring him in. So see Batesy 1, grab your stuff. Yeah, being very classy with the beer bottle tonight. Mark, you grab a few things. Mark, give me a thumbs up when you think you're ready to come on the show, and we'll get you on. This is very exciting. Subject. Someone give me a subject, and I'll quickly talk about it. I can't think of nothing really happened today in lockdown mode. We're just planning new No Such Thing as a Fish episodes today. We've got our facts ready for the show, which we'll be recording tomorrow. We've been doing it via Zoom this whole time, which is very exciting. And chaotic with buffering and so on. It's an editing nightmare. But we've James Harkin, who edits it, is very cool and is doing an amazing job. And we have an extremely fun thing, which is there's a new guy called Ben Corbett who he's hopefully going to be doing some mixes for us because James is a bit packed. James usually does it, so just the mixing of it. And he is the grandson of the man who created Sooty. And then his dad, Matthew, took over and was Sooty for all of our childhood. If you're roughly the same age period as me, which is in our 30s, he was Sooty. So he's the grandson of Sooty. We'll be mixing No Such Thing as a Fish for us in the next few weeks. I really want to get him 4 little puppets of us and get him to act out a No Such Thing as a Fish episode as the grandson. That could be really cool. What is Sooty? Come off it. Sooty and Sweep. Sooty and Sweep are one of the great puppet characters that you would see on TV. Sooty is fantastic. So it doesn't look like Andrew's with us. So why? Yeah, we do need No Such Thing as a Fish puppets. So Mark, are you around? Should we get you on? I'm going to send Mark a request. And C. Batesy 1, who actually had the very first item on the Shit Club, though she didn't appear herself. If you remember, she had the allotment with one ginormous asparagus. That was her. Mark's ready. All right, let's do this. Mark, no, you don't need to send me a request.
You would. The asparagus, how could we ever forget?
Oh, hi.
Mark Burrows, my guest for this evening's show. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Hi, I am nothing if not an occasional Andrew O'Neill stand-in.
Are you? You're his stunt double.
Oh, basically, I'm the Andrew O'Neill you can afford.
This is amazing because you didn't know this was happening tonight. You must have seen a tweet or something and thought, oh, I'll just check this out very quickly. And
yeah, basically, I've been meaning to tune in every night because I see you going live, and then it's never an opportune moment. And then I saw earlier on you tweeting, I was like, you know what? If Andrew's on, I'll show moral support and watch. Not a massive surprise he's not turned up.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome if you're just joining us for the first time to Show Us Your Shit, or some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. And I'll explain later, Mark, why it's got that extended title. This is a show where every night while we're in lockdown, I'm asking interesting people who are sitting in their home right now, surrounded by their stuff, to show us that interesting stuff and invite us into their home. And tonight we are talking to Mark Burrows, who is a band member of a great band, which are called the Men That Will Not Be Blamed for Nothing.
Correct.
Yes, people usually say that will.
Well done.
Yeah, and I read that you guys describe yourself as Crusty Punk meets, I've actually written this down, Crusty Punk meets Cockney sing-songs meet grindcore in the 1880s.
Yeah,
and it's very... And
meets the Ramones meets Slayer is how I usually put it.
yeah, and you're the bass player in the band. You're also a stand-up comedian, and you're also a former co-worker of mine. We used to work together on the origins of online comedy for a thing for Warner Music Entertainment called Comedy Box.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
So ahead of our time, because there's a lot of stuff. Like if we'd have been around now during this lockdown, Comedy Box and stuff like that would have done really well. We were just ahead of it. I was thinking that the other day. I was watching is it called Comedy to Go or something like that? There's a really good comedy streaming service.
Right.
I was watching Beck Hill's show the other day, and I was thinking this is what we were doing 10 years ago, and it's just taken the world 10 years to catch up. Unfortunately, no one was interested then. No one watched this. This is a show where we ask to see items. You've had so long to gather your stuff. What is your first item that you'd like to show us? Okay, my first item I'd like to show you isn't here, right? And it's not because I wasn't expecting this. This is breaking news. This has literally just happened. I don't know, you mentioned earlier on, I've just written a biography of Terry Pratchett, the first ever proper biography of Terry Pratchett, which is out later this year. And I treated myself as a Terry Pratchett fan to a rarity, and I was really looking forward to getting it, which was an issue of a magazine called Science Fantasy, which was a science fiction anthology magazine from the 60s. There's an issue from 1963 that contains Pratchett's first ever piece of published work. He was 14.
Wow.
He was ostentatious enough and pretentious and precocious enough to write a story when he was 14 that his teacher liked, and then he typed it up and sent it to be professionally published, and it got published in a really prestigious monthly science fiction magazine called Science Fantasy. And so I tracked. It felt like the kind of thing I should own. So because I am a Pratchett biographer now. So I tracked a copy down. I managed to find one reasonably priced, and I bought it. And I was really looking forward to getting it. It's 57 years old. It has Pratchett's first ever short story in it, which obviously I've read, but because it's still in print, remarkably. That story appears in an anthology that came out a few years ago. But it was supposed to have been delivered today, and it's not been. And I just checked the Royal Mail website, and the Royal Mail website says that I've signed for it.
Oh shit!
So my my rare Terry Pratchett short story that I was really looking forward to owning has now absolutely vanished. So that was the thing I would have shown you, and
oh man, what a thing! Talk to us about this book quickly, though, because you did proper. I've been talking to Mark in DMs on Twitter. In the process of you writing this book, you reread every single Terry Pratchett book.
I did all 60.
60 books.
And audiobooks.
What do you mean? You mean you doubled up? You did
No, I
120?
did them as audio. I listened to them as audiobooks.
Ah,
I've not
right.
reread them.
Yeah.
On my commute and wandering around in it, you can like smash through 60 books via audio quite easily.
Shit, Wi-Fi bingo.
I am right next to my router. Am I back?
You are back, yeah.
I am right next to my router, and I've got good internet. So I don't know what's happening. Although actually, my wife is currently doing her online tarot course with her Satanist friends, so it might be
Cool.
bad.
What's that about? Is she learning to do satanic tarot or?
Yeah, well, she's really into tarot. She does a lot. She does a lot of that sort of thing. And she's just doing some extremely high level, almost incomprehensible, the kind of the sort of satanic tarot equivalent of like the sort of maths that only involves symbols and numbers. It's very high. I don't really understand it.
Right. It's very exciting.
But anyway,
so for this book, you kind of went to his early childhood homes.
Yeah.
You tracked down everything. I
kind of felt like if you're going to write, for a start, if I was going to write a biography, I'd read all of the books before, and some of them a lot, but I really felt like I had to refresh myself in all of them. A few of them I hadn't read for probably 15 years. So because I wrote the book chronologically, I actually just, I was writing, I started chapter 3, but basically I started at the beginning of his life and ended at the end of his life. So I was reading ahead essentially. And it was so I was always I'd be making notes as I listened to each book, and because it's not really the story of his writing, it's not like there are whole books that get barely a mention, but I felt like I needed to do the whole thing. But by some sort of weird serendipity, like I finished the final book, the final Discworld novel, The Shepherd's Crown, which isn't the final book Pratchett novel published, because there was one of the sci-fi ones with Stephen Baxter that came afterwards. But I finished listening to the last Discworld novel on the day I finished writing the book, by coincidence.
Wow,
which was weird.
So what's the best fact you found out about Pratchett? Like something that I would steal for fish kind of fact.
He interviewed Roald Dahl in 1963 when neither of them, 1965 for the books repressed, neither of them knew that the other one was going to become one of the most successful writers of the 20th century.
You're kidding, really?
Yeah, Roald Dahl at that point had written a bunch of his nasty little short stories, and he'd written James and the Giant Peach and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Pratchett approached him to interview him. They did the interview, and there's a picture of Roald Dahl in the newspaper. It's really hard to track down because Pratchett wrote under a pseudonym at the time. He wrote a column under the name Marcus, so unless you knew it was there, you wouldn't find it. So I doubt anyone's read this in 50 years. But yeah, and my favorite thing about that interview is that Roald Dahl was so little known that Pratchett has to literally uses the phrase Roald Dahl, probably best known as the husband of actress Patricia Neal.
No.
That's incredible. Which is amazing. So that was my favorite thing.
That's such a weird, those facts where it's that classic thing where you say, why didn't Cleopatra get buried in a pyramid? It's because she was born so long after the building that she was closer to the Apollo moon missions than she was the pyramids. The idea of Pratchett and Roald Dahl being in the same timeline as unknowns is...
Another thing I found out, actually, which is semi-related, but I did a lot of research into, because Pratchett was really into the 1960s sort of nerdy sci-fi culture. He was a big fan of he was like a proper sci-fi geek, and he went to conventions and stuff. So I did some research into science fiction associations and the history of fandom, and the first British Science Fiction Association, the first organised club of British science fiction people, which involved Arthur C. Clarke, was set up in the 30s, and they asked H.G. Wells to be the patron because H.G. Wells was still alive.
What?
And it's like, you think of H.G. Wells as being a big... And then Arthur C. Clarke met Terry Pratchett at a convention in the 60s. And so you've got that direct link like that. That kind of thing blows my mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. H.G. Wells was alive. That's a Cleopatra. I would say he was closer in time to Cleopatra than he was to the great sci-fi writers of modern time. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Britpop was closer to punk than it is to now. The world is a strange place.
That is awesome. So when the book is coming out later this year, right?
July the 30th, all being well.
Yeah.
I got an email from my publisher today saying we're still on track for July the 30th, although, you know, question mark, all things being well, all things going okay, just in case.
Yeah. And how much, this is not an authorized biography, so
No.
how much of this did you have to sort of go deeper and postulate more than just getting interviews?
I mean, I did get a fair few interviews, which is good. I mean, it's not an authorized biography. I'd hesitate to say that, because that sounds quite cheap and nasty when you say it's unauthorized.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's room for unauthorized biographies if they're done well. And Rob Wilkins, Pratchett's PA and business manager, is writing the official biography. I often think you need an official biography and an unofficial one to get a whole picture. So I tried to write it to be more journalistic and thorough about it.
Whereas Rob's will be much more of a personal journey, won't it?
He'll have stuff that I could never know and would never find out, and access to people who are who are closer. I talked to all the people you'd expect to ask. You know, I approached them, and the people who were closest all said, "No, we're really sorry, we can't, because it's, you know, the estate haven't approved it." But I spoke to a lot of people who worked with him in the past, journalists who worked with him in the 60s and 70s. I had a lovely lunch with Nigel Planer, which was a thrill.
Cool. Who read a lot of his audiobooks.
Yeah, he did the first 20 of his audiobooks.
He's if anyone doesn't know who that is, because they're international, but you happen to know the Young Ones sitcom, he was Neil the hippie in the Young Ones.
And I'm a huge Young Ones fan. Like, there's a tape somewhere that my mum's got of me and my brother doing a scene from the Young Ones, as like she set it up as like a summer holiday project for us to write out the script and record it of me being Rick and my brother being Neil. So it was quite. I know every single episode off by heart. I mean, you know, I'm a comedy nerd, so it was quite. I didn't actually end up using very much of that interview in the book, but it was.
It's cool to get it's getting the excuse to hang out with these people and talk to them about something they care about.
Actually, I mean, there was a lot of background that it was useful for, and it was also interesting to find out how they did audiobooks. That's fascinating. I found that quite interesting.
Give us a little glimpse into, because he was doing it ages before Audible was around, the boom of audiobooks.
Yeah, they'd have been called books on tape at the time. He was, because they'd already been doing. Tony Robinson had been doing the abridged audiobooks for a few years, and they wanted to do a company which is unfortunately a company whose name has not aged well. They were called ISIS Audio. My editor took that joke out of the book, and I was really annoyed about it. But ISIS Audio, they got the contract to do the unabridged versions, and they brought Nigel Planer in mostly because he reckons the voice of the character of Rincewind was basically Neil, and he did it as Neil. Right. But I always assumed if you're doing a fiction audiobook, somebody would go through it and write a script. And actually convert the novel into a script with the characters' names, and so the actor would be able to look at the script and know which character they're doing next, and apparently not the case. They literally just gave him a copy of the book, and he'd read it the night before, and then the next day go in, and it'd take like 2 days to record 2 or 3 days to record a full novel.
That's so cool. Do you know my favorite Terry Pratchett fact? I did this on Fish many years ago, I think almost when we first started, was, and he told me this actually when he was a guest on Museum of Curiosity, my radio show.
That's a sore subject.
Yes, we'll get onto that in a second. But he got a letter one day from someone in Germany saying, "Hey, I really like your books. I'm obsessed with the German translations of your books, but I just wanted to check that you were aware of this, because it feels really weird. But halfway through the books, or at certain points, there are adverts for Maggi soup noodle or Coca-Cola in your books." Mm-hmm. And so now that's a classic thing that used to happen in America, where you'd get a sort of hardened card in the middle of a book, I think in England as well, and it might
advertise a cigarette or a cigar. So he wrote back saying, well, that's obviously a tradition and I can't blame them for doing that. We don't do it here now, but fair enough. And the guy wrote back saying, no, 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 they're not adverts in your book. They are putting the advert into the character's dialogue so that while Rincewood is running away from someone in the woods, the wizard, he'll suddenly go, my goodness, I'm parched. I must crack open a nice, cool, refreshing Coca-Cola and have a sip before I continue my run from trolls. They literally, that's what he said. Is that not quite that?
It's not quite that blatant. Pratchett, as I discovered, was very fond of giving his anecdotes a bit of a spin. He'd like to give his anecdotes a bit of a polish. To my understanding, this happened once. It's in Pyramids. It's in a book called Pyramids.
I love this, man. This is amazing. You are the oracle of Pratchett now. This is wicked.
It is an advert for Magic Soup. It's a noodle soup. It's not actually in the text of the book, but it is printed on the page. It's
right, physically on the page.
There's a half-page advert just printed in the middle of the book.
Okay.
His German publisher were absolutely ridiculous. They didn't used to really pay any attention to what they put on the cover. So the early Pratchett books, the first sort of 20 odd, are illustrated by a guy called Josh Kirby. And if you ever the famous sort of Pratchett covers you used to see on everywhere were illustrated by Josh Kirby. Dan's gone. I'm going to keep talking. Yeah, there we go. Kirby Sorcery is a classic example of a Josh Kirby cover in that it has a half-naked woman on it. And
always half-naked women on it.
And a badly represented version of one of the characters, because Rincewind doesn't look like that. he's meant to be 30-year-old with scrubby brown hair. But Josh Kirby always drew him as an old man, as Gandalf for some reason, because that's apparently what fantasy wizards look like. Anyway, I'm getting off the course. This publisher, they're called Hein. Or Hines maybe, Heynes, I think. They basically didn't really give a shit about the artwork, and they knew that Josh Kirby was associated with Pratchett and was part of the brand identity. So they would basically use any Josh Kirby painting they could get hold of, regardless of its relevance to the plot, and just slap it on the cover. So you'd have ones like there's one that has a painting that Kirby did for a Robert Rankin novel called, I think it's called The Sprouts of Wrath, which is clearly set in London and has a policeman and a drawing of a Morris Minor on it. They just put that on the front cover of one of the Wizard books. It gets better though, because one of them's got a crucifixion scene from an old sci-fi book that he did in the 70s. The best one though was that there's a book called Mort, a classic Pratchett novel called Mort, and for some reason they didn't like the cover for Mort, but they did like the cover for Weird Sisters, which is a later Pratchett book. So they used the cover, the existing Josh Kirby cover for Weird Sisters, as the cover for Mort. And then they went back to his agent in the UK and said, well, we've used the Weird Sisters cover for Mort, so we need new artwork for Weird Sisters. And his agent went, no, you're not having new artwork. This got a cover. So they just used it again.
So good.
There were 2 Pratchett novels in Germany for a while that had the same cover.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this book.
He was apparently furious. Yeah, I learned a lot of things. I did. I'm not sure if you're allowed to do mastermind on someone you've written a book about, but if I was,
I think you'd nail it.
Nail it. Yeah.
So, do you have more items that you can show us on this show?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, hang on. This, because people dip in and out of the show, I always have to reintroduce it, and it's part of a drinking game that happens. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Show Us Your Shit. This is a show where we talk to interesting people around the world and ask them to show us the most interesting stuff that they've collected over their lifetime. And as they're sitting at home, to get it off their shelves and bring it to the camera here on Instagram and show us all. And tonight, we are not talking to Andrew O'Neill. We are instead talking to Mark Burrows, who...
poor man's Andrew O'Neill.
No, you're a truly fascinating character who's written numerous books now. This is your second book. You've done multiple stand-up shows. You're the bass player in a sort of steampunk band that is inspired by a graffiti that was supposedly belonging to Jack the Ripper. You're a fascinating man. So what's item number 2?
So I mean, most of this is Pratchett based. Actually, I'll give you. This is an Andrew link. This is a Terry Pratchett patch that Andrew gave me as a present that he found in a when we were on tour in America once.
Cool.
And I just love this because I've never got around to do anything with it. And when I was writing the book, I thought I'd lost it. And then I moved something on my desk, and it was just there on my desk, and it's like it turned up at just the right time. So that's interesting.
That's very nice.
I'll give you a non-Pratchett based one. So as you know, I'm in a Victorian themed punk rock band. We do comedy, not comedy really. They started off as a comedy project, but it kind of stopped being comedy quite soon.
Yeah, it's really serious and good music. And the lyrics have a comic tone to them.
Yeah.
But they're not gags. They're just
they're stories.
Yeah, they're stories and
twisted stories.
So like, give us a few examples though of like the subject matters for certain songs. Like, who's the character that you sing about in one of your singles? I think it was classic Victorian inventor.
Oh, isn't about King Brunel?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole song about.
I mean, that's very much our signature song. It's that song's standing on the Thames at Rotherhithe, wondering how to get to the other side. Up pops a bloke in a stovepipe hat. He said, "I'll do you a tunnel under that." That's the that was Andy, our singer. I mean, two of us are stand-ups, and everyone always goes, "Oh, of course they're funny. They've got two stand-ups in the band." Actually, most of the lyrics are written by somebody who's never done stand-up comedy in his life, and you can always tell the ones he's written because they're not jokes. They don't have jokes in them. They don't have punchlines. They don't go da 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 bum. They're twisted, weird little stories. Like there's one called Poor Georgie, which is about you dropping your son off at a babysitter's and coming back to find you looks really weird, and it turns out that you've accidentally dropped him off at the taxidermist and things like that.
Right, nice.
The nanny's next door. This room is for the taxidermy shop I take.
You guys released one album, and I'm going purely off memory here, but wasn't there a thing where you guys got a desist letter about the title of one of your albums?
Yeah, our first album was called Now That's What I Call Steampunk Volume 1, which we've kind of gone off the word steampunk because it wasn't very cool to begin with, and then the longer we've been around as a band, the worse it got. So we try and avoid the word, but our first album was pretty blatant. It was called Now That's What I Call Steampunk Volume 1. Just before we released our second album, this may be the reason why the men that will not be blamed for nothing cannot be killed by conventional weapons. We got a cease and desist letter from what was then, I believe, was it Warner? Anyway, whichever label it was, saying we own Now That's What I Call blah 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 in the music space. You cannot use it, and as a result, you have to take it down. That's from our digital publishers. So we were like, oh, so we put out a press release. It did pretty well. We changed the name of the album to the Steampunk Album That Cannot Be Named for Legal Reasons. And the press release did really well because we sold like 200 pre-sales in the next week of our second album, so that was useful. That first album, by the way, we released with Shit I've Got in My House. We released with this as a special edition. This.
Can you hold that on the flips? Can you flip your camera around so we can see that properly? It's all mirrored backwards writing.
No, that's just the wrong way.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah. So hold it up in front of the. Yeah.
There we go. So this.
Yeah.
This came with our first album. It's a wax cylinder.
Oh, awesome.
And I'll get this out and show you. We were the first band. We thought we were the first band in 90 years to release something on wax cylinder. Here it is. And this works. Wow. You can play it. Only one song. We had to remix it as well because you can't have certain frequencies. We thought we were the first band to release one on wax cylinder. It turned out Captain Sensible did it in the early 90s, and that was a bit annoying. But yeah, we took us ages to find a guy who could do this. I found this really fascinating guy who made it his life's work to hang on, I'll just pop that there. He'd made it his life's work to preserve wax cylinders, to kind of archive them, and as a result of the research he was doing, he learned to reverse engineer the process and built the lathe that would actually cut them. And he managed to locate someone who still made blanks, wax blanks.
Right.
So you could actually record new music on wax cylinder. So or Edison cylinder for those in the American. So yeah, you could you got our first 2 albums both came with special editions that had wax cylinders. There we go. Yeah,
There we go.
Two different covers for our first album.
How do you play it? How do you play a wax cylinder? I have no idea.
You need a wax cylinder player.
Yeah, but what is that? What does that look like?
They still. I mean, a wax cylinder is essentially a cylindrical record. It works on exactly the same premise as a vinyl record. It's just a cylinder rather than a disc. You can still get the players. I mean, no one makes new ones anymore, but you can still get the antique ones. They were used from the late 19th century, pretty much up to. They were still in production, I think, up to the war. They were still being used for dictation machines and things like that as late as the war. Vinyl very much became shellac, and then vinyl became the sort of favoured audio format. But they were still around, so the machines are still there. There are still people that have them. You can build one. We included instructions as to how to build your own.
Cool.
With it. We found out somebody had tried it, and apparently it is absolutely fucking awful. It sounds like complete dog shit. But then wax cylinders do sound like dog shit. So
yes,
they sound absolutely terrible, which is why the format died out. They were very much the overcompressed MP3 of their day.
Right. That's so cool. So how many of those did you release with the album?
I think we did 10 of the first one because we didn't think anyone would care. And they sold really well. We got an email from there's one in the British Library, and we got an email from the Washington Senate Library or something like that, saying that they wanted one for their archive. But by that point, we'd actually sold them all, so we couldn't give them one. I think we did 50 with the second record, but they cost the blanks cost £10 each. So they're not there, and each one has to be recorded in real time. So easy to do.
Wow.
But yeah, there are a fair few floating around. People bring them to signings still occasionally. It's always nice to see them.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a Library of Congress. Thank you. That's
Library of Congress.
Yeah. So yeah, there is one in the British Library. There's not one in the Washington Library of Congress because we didn't have any left by the time they asked. But it's nice. It's nice to be asked.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't you? While we're talking about Library of Congress in America, didn't you accidentally have to do a stand-up tour of America when 2 of your bandmates weren't allowed into the country?
No, the story's a lot sadder than that, I'm afraid.
Right.
No, our singer got cancer.
Andy got ill, of course.
This is
of course. Yeah.
Andy got throat cancer. And we had this tour booked. So me and Andrew decided that we still wanted to go. So we did it as a stand-up tour. We did it as we went over just the 2 of us, and we did it on Greyhound buses. Doing
so cool
11-12 hour. We'd every town we were meant to go to, we just found somebody's basement or like an apartment or a bar or something, and we just find anywhere we could put on a stand-up show. It was really fun. It was a really fun tour. You think you get sick. That's when you know you like somebody, is when you can spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks on the road going around the States with them and not get sick of each other. We were both quite surprised by that, actually.
It's hard. Touring is so hard. No such thing as a fish. We've worked out a rhythm, but to begin with, it's really hard because you're away from your family and your loved ones, and you've all got opinions, and we're very lucky. We've never fallen out, but there's points where you're like, this could fucking fall apart right now if someone says the wrong thing right now, and luckily no one ever has. And weirdly, after 6 years, we're in a better place than we've ever been. So that's incredible. But it's hard. On the road is hard.
The first time we went to America was really the first as a boy. When we went to tour properly when Andy was better, about 2 years later, 2016.
Yeah, so he is better, we should say.
He's better. He's alive and well. His teeth are still falling out, but he thinks that's quite metal. So that's they irradiated him, and now his teeth fell out. The first gig we did back, we sold out the garage in London, which was really cool. It was Andy's welcome back gig. And one of the coolest things will ever happen to me is walking out on stage and hearing the noise of the audience when Andy walked out on stage.
Cool.
We banned him from going out into the crowd. He wanted to just go out into the crowd because he doesn't really think about things like that. And me and Andrew made him stay in the dressing room so that no one would see him and they'd be more excited. But where was I going with it? Oh yeah, he did the encore wearing when he had the radiotherapy. There's a mask you have to wear. They do a cast of your face, so it's exactly like the.
Oh wow, really?
So
okay.
Because he had throat cancer, so it has to be targeted very specifically. So they basically bolt you down using a mask that's the exact same size as your face, and they gave it him to keep, and he did the encore wearing his cancer mask, which was pretty metal.
Wow, that's mega metal. It's really cool. Metal is there's a huge crossover of nerds and metal. Any metalhead that I've met. So we had on our 100th episode of No Such Thing as a Fish, we had Corey Taylor on from Slipknot. Yeah, he was our guest on the show. And we originally met him because we released a No Such Thing as a Fish vinyl. And we found out that he was a QI fan. So we did a bonus track on the vinyl where it's Corey Taylor just doing a bonus little, 30 seconds later, just saying, hey, this is Corey Taylor. What's up? Kind of thing. And then he came on. He was amazing on the show. But he rocked up into the office wearing a Sherlock Holmes from the Moffat Gatiss series T-shirt. He was talking about a trip that he'd done to the Doctor Who world that was in Cardiff, because he was brought in as one of the monsters on Doctor Who.
That's so cool.
Yeah, now so Corey Taylor doesn't physically appear, but he's got an extraordinary vocal range, Corey Taylor, and so they brought him on purely to be the scream of this one monster. So
did know that.
Yeah, so I think it's in the Moffat. Is it the Moffat? It might be the Moffat period where he was literally brought into a sound recording studio and just had to go "Wow!" for ages, and that appears in Doctor Who. So he's canon as a scream from Slipknot.
I have a good Corey Taylor story. It must have been 15 years ago. The Murder Dolls were on tour. If you know your Slipknot lore, the Murder Dolls were Joey Jordison's side project, the old drummer in Slipknot. He was the guitarist in the Murder Dolls. They were this kind of goth, light metal, LA glam sort of thing. They were good. I liked them. They were on tour. They played Nottingham Rock City, and I went to see the show with the singer of an old band I was in. And backstage, we were just, because they used to let us in backstage at Rock City because we were just always there. And we and I was like, that's Corey Taylor. And Corey Taylor was on tour with the Murder Dolls as a roadie, just for the hell of it.
No.
He had some time off. So he just went. So he just like, I'll just come on the road with you. No one knew who he was because this was before the first Stone Sour, this first album came out. So he was completely anonymous. Just doing.
No one would know his head. Yeah, no one would know.
Crewing for the Murder Dolls. My mate got really drunk and told me he thought his band was shit, and he went. And his reply was brilliant. It was, I know it is shit, but look how much money I've got.
Fair dues.
Yeah.
My buddy Leon, aka Buttons, I do a podcast with him called The Cryptid Factor. He's just written. I interviewed Corey wearing his mask. Corey was wearing his mask, I'm guessing, and he was lovely and talked about golf. Yeah, he's a full-on nerd. It's wonderful.
There's
Very,
a lot.
cool.
There's a weird golf metal crossover. Alice Cooper is a very keen golfer. So is Iggy Pop.
Alice Cooper, massive dork, massive nerd.
Refuses to swear.
Does he really?
Yeah,
okay.
I'll give you an Andrew anecdote. Because a few years ago, Andrew, who should be the guest on the show but didn't turn up, and he'll confirm this if he ever does turn up, was doing the Metal Hammer Golden Gods Awards. He was co-hosting it. Andrew was basically the compere, and Alice Cooper was the official host. And they gave him the script for it, and he went through it and just crossed out all the swear words because Alice Cooper didn't swear.
That's so good. He's amazing. Do you have more objects on you?
Nothing as good as that. I've got a few more.
Mark, for people who are just joining us now. Hello. Welcome, everybody, to Show Us Your Shit. This is a show where we talk to interesting people about all the amazing stuff they have sitting in their houses. And tonight, our guest is someone who has spent
days rummaging his house to pull out all of the extraordinary things that he has. It is Mark Burrows, comedian and musician and a biographer of Terry Pratchett. It's coming out later this year. I'll bring the cover up here very soon for you to see. What's your next object, bud?
Good. I wish I'd known I was doing this because I would have brushed my hair properly, but I wouldn't be wearing pajamas on my bottom half. But I mean, who's worn jeans recently?
I'm actually wearing jeans today, but only because someone pointed out they could see my knees too much in my shorts when I was doing the show, and they're too hairy. So I just thought I'll go black trousers. But yeah,
fair. So as I said, I'm in this Victorian punk band. I did a side project briefly. Where I decided, for some reason, I decided that Victorian wasn't old school enough, so I did a Regency punk band just for a laugh, and I did which I called Before Victoria, just because I'd written one song that was that fitted that era that we didn't use for the men, so I wrote another one that fitted the same era, and I was like, oh, actually, I've got an entire album, so I just did an album. So it's called Carry On Up the Chartists, which is
lovely. What's Chartists?
Sorry?
What's the last word mean?
Chartists. The Chartists were a kind of working class protest movement from the early 19th century. Kind of in the wake of the Peterloo massacre, the kind of social upheaval that started there. Chartism became, the Chartists were a kind of mass movement for parliamentary reform.
Right.
They had 5 aims, 4 of which are now enshrined in law, but they were all laughed at the time. The 5th one, which was having annual elections, has still never happened because it's a batshit stupid idea. Although it feels like it in the last few years, doesn't it? But yeah, so I called my album "Carry On at the Chartists."
Great name.
A reference to both the Carry On movies, the Carry On movie Carry On at the Khyber, and the Beautiful South Greatest Hits album Carry On at the Charts. Anyway, so I called the band Before Victoria, and I was on tour with the men the following year, and a fan said, I've got a present for you. And she gave me, hang on, this, which is, she found a book called Before Victoria.
Awesome.
That is about the social history of the pre-Victorians. And it's such a lovely item, and I was just really pleased with it. It was just a really, really nice thing to happen, and also I liked the typography of the thing so much that in fact I will show you now because my wife's finished in the other room. I like the typography of it so much that I ripped it off for a poster. So you have hang on, so that's my book,
yeah, and
that is the poster I did the next year.
Oh, wicked.
So yeah,
can we see it? Can you hold it up properly in front of the, as in, I can't see the poster properly. It's on too much of an angle. So the
right, hang on.
The Asylum.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was playing a steampunk convention. So
very
yeah,
cool.
Somebody has mentioned Blur. I do like Blur.
Mark's a massive Blur fan.
Yes.
Do you know that Alex James? It's Alex James, isn't it? The bass player.
Yes.
He was turned into a cheese not too long ago.
Well, he makes cheese. That's one of his. Cheese is his passion.
Yeah, but he was made into cheese.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a V&A exhibition where they got famous people and they turned bits of their bacteria. They got bits of bacteria off them and turned it into a cheese. So he's displayed in the V&A as a lump of cheese. It's the Alex James.
It's literally what he would have wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
I realised. I realised I left my other objects in here, so I have to come back in.
One other thing that you probably don't have this on you, but so I was saying earlier that the Terry Pratchett book's going to be your second book.
Yes.
Your first book was from the period when you were working for The Guardian, I believe it was, and you compiled a whole book of all the ridiculous comments that people and arguments that people have underneath the articles that appear. You must have that book on you and some interesting examples.
My wife has just ran into the other room to get me a copy.
Wicked. We have to say hi to your wife, by the way, who I've never met.
I have no makeup on. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
This is the performance artist Nicoletta Wilde. This is
hope Satanic Tarot went good for you tonight.
Sorry?
I hope the Satanic Tarot went good for you tonight.
What's wasn't satanic tarot. It's Thoth tarot. It's not necessarily satanic.
Oh, okay, right.
Thoth. It's Crowley tarot. It's not satanic tarot.
Crowley tarot, cool. Do you
Like
guys know the bookshop Watkins?
Do you know Watkins?
No, I've never heard of Watkins. Where's
This is the best bookshop I've ever been to. It's on Cecil Court Road, which is in Leicester Square. If you go out of Leicester Square, there's this very beautiful small road where it's old secondhand bookshops, but there's this esoteric bookshop where they have everything. I go there for all my books. It's wonderful, isn't it? And they do tarot reading and stuff like that.
Yeah, Tempest book. Yeah.
And it used to be on Charing Cross Road, so they relocated there. And when it was on Charing Cross Road, Aleister Crowley used to go there and shop for books. And someone challenged him that he wasn't able to do magic. And this is the story that they tell at Watkins, that he was unable to do magic. So he said, "You want to see magic?" And they said that in the instant, he made every single book in the bookshop disappear, like thousands of books, and then reappear a second later.
Ooh.
Yeah, so huge Aleister Crowley lore, and you must go to that bookshop again if you haven't been in a while. It's awesome.
I'm not necessarily a Thalamite. I just didn't really understand Thoth Tarot, and so my friend was like, "There's a course going on. Do you want to join it?" It's very dense, but yeah, it's cool.
Somebody says you've got awesome hair.
Oh,
you do.
The morbid bat. Hello, thank you.
You do. It's wicked.
I've got zero makeup on, so I apologise.
No, sorry that Mark threw you on the camera.
Right.
If you want an extra bonus Pratchett fact, that bookshop you're referencing is about 500 yards down the road from where Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman met in 1985.
For the first time ever?
Yeah.
What were they meeting for? Was Neil interviewing him as a journalist? Or?
Exactly that, yeah.
Right.
You can sit down now, yeah. Exactly that, yeah. In a Chinese restaurant in Chinatown, and then they went to Forbidden Planet, which used to be on Tottenham Court Road, and is now slightly further around from that.
Wow. Brigmore, dubious fact bingo. That's not dubious. That's a fact that Crowley was said to have done that. I always get picked up for my facts.
I didn't know that. I'm going to bring that up next session. I'm going to be like, "Hey, guess what Dan said?"
Yeah.
You were asking about when I worked for the Guardian. I wrote.
Yeah.
I used to be I was in charge of the comments. I was the senior community moderator. My job was to never edited them, to read and delete comments below the line of the Guardian. It was a thankless task. 5 years reading other people's horrible ideas, but they asked me to write a book about it, to compile a book. I edited a book about it, of the funniest, weirdest, stupidest comments, the most Guardianista ones, and it's called, it's called, I Think I Can See Where You're Going Wrong.
Are there any? There must be a few off the top of your head. I'm thinking as a stand-up, you probably pick a few that you could always relate. I had a ton of. No, it's okay. Oh God, I had a ton of them I used to know off by heart, and I've got an annotated copy somewhere for when I used to do readings. But it's so long since I've done it. Oh, don't worry. Yeah.
But there was my favourite one was. If I could go back in time, I don't see the point of killing Hitler. Wouldn't it be better to go back further and be nicer to him as a child? That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's so good. And then, are you still doing the stuff at Twitter? Are you still at Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter is my day job. I work for Twitter full time. I cannot get you a blue tick. Do not ask me for a blue tick. I don't know why you've been blocked. Don't ask me to unblock you. I cannot help.
Got a blue tick, mate. Got my blue tick.
Yeah,
I'm all good.
All got blue
But
tick.
so Mark works on the moments bit, right? You work on the.
I'm
if
a
you
curator.
go, you're the creator of all the moments.
I'm one of the team of people that creates them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the moments. I really obsessed over it for a very long time. It's the only place where I sort of stayed on top of the news. So I was always very happy, and it was always really nice because if you had, say, a comedian, there was one in particular I really loved. And I can't remember it exactly, but there's a comedian called Beck Hill.
I made this one. I know the one you made.
Yeah, it's so good. So Beck Hill is a brilliant comedian. She's actually going to be on Show Us Your Shit on May 12th. So tune in then. But can you tell us what the moments were? She had this great idea.
Beck did this brilliant thing. I think it was when she was thinking about the show she did last year, which was called I'll Be Beck, which was about time travel, which is available online. And I highly recommend looking it up because it's really, really good. But she did this thing where she tweeted, "I've just been to the future. What do you guys want to know?" And people just asked her questions, and she would say, and she just replied with facts she'd learned from the future. And I'm not going to do any of them because I can't remember any of them, and I wouldn't do them justice because Beck is an effervescent and delightful comic, and I wouldn't want to sully her brilliant material. But definitely worth looking at.
It's so funny. It's so cool. There's a 5-minute warning that's about to come up. You know how Instagram works, right? You get an hour on the live thing, it cuts off. So what we usually do is we take a 2-minute break and we come back and do a few more objects and wrap up the show. Are you cool to come back and
Yes.
do a few more? Yeah,
I've got literally nothing else to do.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. So for anyone who might log off at this point, because it's almost 10:30, this is Mark's book that's coming out. The Magic of Terry Pratchett. And just from knowing Mark, I've been sent a copy of it actually, which is very exciting. You've sent me the digital sort of PDF of it.
It doesn't exist in physical form yet. That is a mock-up, and it's also a mock-up with a howling Photoshop error in it that I did. That if you stare at it long enough,
cool. All right, let's have a quick bash at which cover or back.
The back. It's the back that's the issue. See if you can work out what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Oh God, I'm trying to get it as large as possible for everyone. That's the largest it will go, so maybe that's not going to work for everyone.
No, if you know that that's the back cover, you should be able to spot the problem.
Oh yeah, okay. It's the front cover.
Yeah,
in the format of it, of course.
I photoshopped it onto the front of a book rather than the back of it.
Well, maybe it's one of one of those notebooks that you flip over at the top. Maybe both sides are. That would be a unique thing. So this is the cover. When's it come out, Mark?
July 30th.
July 30th. And it has a very exciting opening paragraph, which features a mysterious, cool guy called Dan. No surname given, but he sounds awesome.
Yeah. I didn't want to, incriminate anybody.
Yeah.
But, do you want to do that story now, or do you want to do that story after the break?
Let's do it after the break. So if you're able to, come back in 2 minutes time, and let's continue with Mark Burrows, who, Mark, run around your house and just look for interesting stuff, and we can talk about a few more things. Use your 2 minutes wisely, okay? Use it as almost as if that's more than 2 days, equivalent to what I actually gave you to do in the show. So we'll see you all in 2 minutes. Come back in 2 minutes.
Bye.
Welcome back, everyone, to Show Us Your Shit. Very exciting to have you all come back and talk to our guest, Mark Burrows. So I've actually heard from the guest who was meant to be on, Andrew O'Neill. He forgot. There's nothing more to the story. He forgot. So he said he will come on next Tuesday. So I look forward to not talking to him then again. So let's bring Mark back in. Mark, as I've said at the top of the show, if you don't know what he does in life, he is a comedian, he is a musician, he is one of the members of the band called The Men That Will Not Be Blamed for Nothing, which is according to their own description, Crusty Punk meets Cockney sing-songs meets grindcore in the 1880s. It's an amazing band. The music is incredible. The music, lyrics.
Who's just penned the first ever Terry Pratchett biography. So that's very exciting. Mark, it didn't let you back in. So let me just try and get you in again. Mark is someone that I've known. We used to work together at Warner Music Entertainment years ago. Hey, dude, welcome back.
Yes.
I was just trying to think of some of the projects that we worked on when we were at Warner Music Entertainment together with Comedy Box. Were you there when we were doing the Ken Russell?
I was there for the tail end of the Ken Russell thing, in that I was the one who used to take his phone calls when he rang up to demand why he hadn't been paid.
Yes, I used to palm that off to you. Yeah, you were so good. You were so patient.
A few years ago, I did an interview with Mark Kermode, who was really good friends with Ken Russell, and we were chatting about Ken Russell, and he's like, and of course the project he always wanted to do was this ridiculous thing called A Kitten for Hitler, and eventually, of course, it got made, and I was like, yes, I know. I technically worked on that in that I handled the accounts.
Yeah, and fielded the angry phone calls from Ken. Yeah,
The single most offensive thing anyone has ever done.
yeah.
Ken Russell's A Kitten for Hitler. I don't even know if you can watch it anywhere anymore.
Yeah, I think it's online still. So the story behind this was that Ken Russell came to us at Comedy Box and said, a friend of his said, he's been trying to make the most offensive movie of all time that he would supposedly be lynched for, which is called A Kitten for Hitler. And he's been trying to make it as a feature film. And I said to him, because he was really old, he was at the tail end of his career, and he told me the idea, and it wasn't, I have to say it wasn't crazily offensive. It was really tame. It would have been crazily offensive back in the day. This was just like just eccentric more than anything. I said I don't have money for the feature film. Unfortunately, I'm sure you must have realized I wasn't going to stump up 20 million here. What I do have money for is for you to make a trailer. And he went, all right, I'll do that instead. So he ended up effectively making a long trailer for the feature film that he never got to make. He wanted someone to play Hitler in it. So I was responsible for organizing the auditions at the Warner Music Entertainment offices, where about 150 Hitlers were lined up outside the building. Didn't know they'd come in costume, just assumed they would arrive and read the part, but they came in costume. Yeah, it was a very bizarre project, and yeah, Mark was there at the time.
Most with their result. I mean, we ended up selling the whole thing to MySpace, and we all briefly worked from MySpace.
Oh yeah, we were all like the comedy people of MySpace for a period. Yeah, that was amazing.
Which means I'm ticked off a lot of the social networks now.
Oh yeah, you've done MySpace, you've done Twitter, you've
actually just those two.
All right. Well, that's more than most people. So let me reintroduce the show for anyone who's just joined us. Welcome to Show Us Your Shit, brackets, or some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. And Mark, I'll tell you why it's called that at the end of the show. This is a show where every night, literally every night, we are talking to someone interesting who's sitting in their home right now and asking them to pull off all the best stuff from their shelves, the most interesting things they've collected over their lifetime, and show it to us all. So we're currently in the house of Mark Burrows, who is a comedian and a author, and he has an item to show us. So show us your shit, Mark.
So there's a couple of different things. Quick Pratchett one. The rare
Cool.
Pratchett, I said earlier on about the rare Pratchett book that was meant to be delivered today and has apparently been signed for by somebody else.
Yeah.
But I do have one of my pride and joys is this.
Oh my goodness!
Hang on, I will.
You're kidding? Is that the first edition?
It's a first edition of Terry Pratchett's The Colour of Magic.
Wow.
Which there are only, I think they printed 5,000 of these in total, of which only 300 were released.
Shit Wi-Fi bingo!
Hang on. Are we back?
Sorry, we lost you for a second there. So only 500 were released?
I think they printed 5,000 in total. Most of those were published in the States. Only 300 were published in the UK. The Colour of Magic is actually has the distinction of being the Pratchett book with the smallest release out of all of his novels. It was his fourth book, and it had the smallest release. So this edition wasn't available for very long. Pratchett became big when Corgi released the paperback, which is the version you'd recognise. But this was the very early version, the hardback version. The cover was drawn by a student called Alan White. I don't know what became of him, but yeah, it's one of my favourite things that I own.
How did you get your hands on that? That's so rare, an item.
I mean, I like to say I had a really good story, but I got it on eBay.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that must have cost a bomb, right? Like that is a very rare item.
Actually, it didn't cost as much as you'd think. I got lucky with it.
Like on a bid thing, or?
Not well. I think the guy who was selling it didn't quite get what it was he had.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
He knew it was a rare Terry Pratchett book. I don't think he realised how rare. Also, there are a few different versions of this. Some of them are are worth more than others. This is one of the less valuable ones. It's also a little bit tatty, but I didn't really care about that. I just wanted to own it. I just wanted to own that version.
Totally.
So,
I mean, if you're a Pratchett fan, that's the one. That's the thing. That's the genesis of the world, of the disc world. I mean, it's
But there's a brilliant thing here where this is, you can tell this is one of the American versions, because the blurb inside said, Terry Pratchett has invented a phantasmagorical universe in which a blissfully naive interplanetary tourist called Two joins up with a dropout wizard whose spells only seem to work half of the time. Now, that royally pissed off Colin Smythe, who was Pratchett's agent, because it's incorrect. Rincewind's spells don't work at all. Not half of the time. It's like the version of the book that was released in the UK, which is the rarest version, actually has a sticker over the inside flap, which has a rewritten blurb and some reviews of previous books on it. Whereas mine has the American pressing, where it was slightly more numerous, the American ones. So, but still, I'm happy I own it.
Yeah, really cool. So cool. So I feature in the opening paragraph of your biography of Pratchett, off the back of I was responsible for you failing to meet Pratchett.
Well, you were responsible for me failing. You gave me the opportunity to.
No, that's what I mean. I gave you. Yeah, like you didn't have any other opportunity to fail to meet him. I provided the opportunity for you to fail to meet your hero. So he was a guest on Museum of Curiosity years and years ago. He was on with Shappy Corsandi, who is on the show tomorrow night, unless something goes wrong. But in theory, she's on Show Us Your Shit tomorrow night. And
I'll log on just in case.
Yeah, please do. Find more stuff in your house. And as a result, I became good friends with Rob. Still am. We still message all the time. But he and I ended up. It's interesting. There's a few people where they are so heavily reliant on their assistants running their lives. Rob really ran Terry's life, and particularly in the years where he was ill, he was an angel. I mean, it was extraordinary what he would do for Terry, and the patience that he had for someone who was very frustrated about the situation they were in life, and he would do things that would make sure that Terry would mentally have to finish a task, like with the type of Alzheimer's he had, it was spatial awareness was a big thing, and blind spots. So if he was standing somewhere, he could have a full conversation, but he might not be able to see a chair. Rob would spend 20 minutes telling him to find the chair. He would say, picture it. Where would it be, Terry? What would it look like? And I witnessed that in person, and it was fascinating to watch. But so I invited you to this show, and we can't work out why you didn't make it.
I can't remember, 'cause I used to rock up to Museum of Curiosity recordings quite a lot. I was the first one, where I met Jonathan Miller in the bar and had a conversation with him, and I've never felt more completely insignificant in my life. He was very lovely. He had time for me. We had a nice chat about autism research, but I still had the idea that I was talking to somebody who was intellectually so far above me that he may as well have been talking to a child. But I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet Jonathan Miller.
Yeah.
But
he was cool.
He was, yeah. I know, not very funny though, if I remember.
No, I mean, oh my God, he was incredibly curmudgeonly on the show and incredibly difficult. He's sort of the idea of Museum of Curiosity. So this is if you don't know it, it's a panel show that I created with John Lloyd, who's the producer of Blackadder and Spitting Image and Not the 9 O'Clock News. He's kind of like the godfather of comedy, but he'd never presented anything. And myself and Rich Turner, who's my co-producer, we had the idea of creating a show for him because we just thought, why have you never presented something? And we were struggling with what kind of show it would be. And then John got given a posting at the University of Solent University, I can't remember where it was now. This is how long since I've made the show. But he was given the posting of Professor of Ignorance at the university, Southampton University. And we thought, okay, if you're the Professor of Ignorance, that's a really quirky, odd thing to be given the title of. What would he have? Maybe he would have a museum. And we ended up inventing an impossible museum that was infinitely large, where it was empty. It was completely new. So every guest who came on the show, Solent University, thank you. Everyone who came on was entering an item into an empty museum. But because it's a museum in your head, anything could go in. So the challenge was, if you could put one thing into a museum, what would it be and why? And it can be impossible. And so yeah, Jonathan Miller was on the first episode, and his agent said to me, Jonathan would be up for being on every episode if you want. And I freaked out. I was like, absolutely, yes. I mean, this is the guy who has invented British comedy, basically, with Peter Cook and Dudley Moore and Alan Bennett in Beyond the Fringe. And he came on, and he was great, but he was also terrible for a comedy show.
Very dry.
Oh man, it was, and he was pissed off. This is a show about wonder and curiosity, and someone put in phlogiston, which was an element that existed and then got disproved, and so it was a sort of extinct element. And he was just like, "Well, why would you put that in a museum? What a dickhead move that would be!" And you're like, "Mate, the concept of this, you don't get it." And yeah, so he could have killed our show actually if he was on it for more than one episode. But yeah, so give us another item. You got another item?
Yeah, Joe. Let's just to finish that story. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I knew I could rock up, and you'd always end up going to the bar afterwards. And that was so. I was like, if I go to the Museum of Curiosity, you always end up with a bar afterwards with at least one or two of the guests. And I was like, well, I'll go, and then I might get to go to the pub with Terry Pratchett. And then for whatever reason, and I genuinely can't remember, I decided not to go. And I there must have been a good reason. It was 10 years ago now, but I must have had a good reason. Because I knew that would happen, and then I kind of tried to sort of make myself feel well, going, well, he's not well. I doubt he went to the pub. And then the next day, you were like, oh yeah, we were in the pub drinking with Terry last night. It was really good.
4 a.m. Yeah, it was a lock-in. Yeah,
damn it. So
he gave us all first editions of Color of Magic. It was awesome.
Yeah, so I missed my chance to meet Terry Pratchett, and that's the opening paragraph of my book. So thanks, Dan, for that at least. I'll give you my next. I've got 2 items left. One is actually Nicoletta's item, so we'll do that one, but I'll do mine first. I think you probably do know this about me. During the mid-2000s, I had a mental health episode, let's say. I spent some time in a psychiatric ward. It's not something I've talked about for years, and then I wrote a stand-up show about it.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favourite stand-up shows I ever wrote. It's called Mind Your Head. And I did it at Edinburgh 2 years ago, and then a few performances since. But yeah, I was in hospital, and I came out of hospital, and my brother came to meet me, and I'm only showing this because I just love it. As a present, he bought me this, which is Slave One. This is Boba Fett's ship back. And my brother had been to a toy shop and bought me Slave One as a present to make me feel better after I got out of after I came out of hospital. So I got this, and my favourite thing about it is a few years later. Hang on, let me just move. A few years later, I was able to get it signed.
No, that's great.
And I was just really excited that Boba Fett. Nick didn't know it was signed. I used to work for a student union at the time, and I was assistant entertainment manager at Loughborough Students' Union. And me and the ents manager were massive Star Wars nerds, so we got Jeremy Bullock, who played Boba Fett, in to do a club night, and basically came to this to sign autographs for pissed students. And he was bewildered by it, and no one knew who he was, and we felt a little bit bad about the whole thing. But I did get to meet him, and I did get that signed. I also met Jake the Snake Roberts a few weeks after that, which was a high point.
You met Jake the Snake Roberts. Awesome.
I interviewed Jake the Snake Roberts, and it's one of the most harrowing experiences in my life.
He's for anyone who doesn't know him, he's a WWF wrestler who was part of what I think is the great golden era of WWF. He would come on stage with a snake wrapped around him, and he then featured in an amazing documentary. If you ever want to see an incredible documentary called Beyond the Mat, it's about the real hardships and the realities of being a WWF wrestler, because everyone thinks it's fake, and this shows you how unfake the reality of putting your body through these matches, the toll of being on the road, what it does to your family, the pressures of maybe having to do drugs, steroids, and so on to keep your body in shape. It's
Go on.
That's what Jake talked about when I interviewed him about
Right.
the amount of abuse he'd received. There's actually a really good documentary that was made years later that I thought was the one Beyond the Amount I've Seen is amazing. But he made another one with Diamond Dallas Page, and it's about Jake the Snake getting clean, and it's really good. It's a really good life-affirming documentary about him taking up yoga and getting clean and healthy, and then getting a WWE Hall of Fame nomination.
Right. Have you seen the documentary on Amazon Prime of Ted DiBiase?
No.
It's Ash Gardner who's in the comments, and I watched it one night. It is the most surreal documentary I've ever seen in my life. It's made by his son, who is a wrestler now too, not that big, and it is phenomenal. And it's basically half of it is just because his dad was on the road and he was constantly cheating on his mum. Like, he slept with like 5,000 women in the course of doing it. And the guy's like, my dad, I'm making a documentary about this great guy. And it's always conversations with them sitting at the table. And they're like, this is so amazing, you know, your career. So why did you fucking cheat on my mum 5,000 times? It's just constantly. And it's just him going, well, you know, it was the times and I found God since, and it's really odd. And it's, if you want to see the weirdest documentary, it's like Tiger King level weird.
Amazing.
Check out Ted DiBiase. Mark, that's amazing, that object, purely also because of the symbolic connection. And you wrote an article, didn't you, about that episode of your life?
Yeah, I did. I wrote a piece for The Guardian about being in a psychiatric ward and what it was like and how it feels and that kind of thing. That was that did really well, and that was kind of the basis of the stand-up show I wrote, which is actually the stupidest show I've ever written. I wanted to take the most serious thing I could do and write the stupidest show I could. So
nice.
It's the lightest of all of my stuff I've ever done. It's I wanted to kind of constantly undercut the kind of idea that it'd be so serious and try and normalize it. And it was it's my favorite thing I've ever written. I need to do it more.
Yeah, and obviously no one can really see that at this point, but the article you wrote is still on The Guardian, and I remember reading at the time, and I didn't know that, you know, working with you and all that for those years, you'd never said anything about it, so that sort of came out of nowhere, and it was a beautiful article. It was really stunning, really heartfelt, and if anyone watching is curious about what someone goes through in those moments, I think you really captured, I mean, I can't attest to it because I've not gone through it, but it felt like you gave us a proper insight into that, which was really generous, because that's a very hard thing to do, and to put your heart out there for the public. What's it called? Someone's asking what the article is called.
I remember what the headline of the article is, but if you search for me and The Guardian, you'll get, basically I've got a page where you can see all of my articles. So you can just click through and click back, you'll find it. It's got a picture of Keith from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as the thumbnail image, because the most ridiculous thing ever to happen is that I was in a psychiatric ward, and the guy in the bed next to me, and I'm not making this up, the guy in the bed next to me was a 6'7" Native American. Which,
you're kidding?
No, it's like 100% true. And he would he spoke to me, but he seemed to communicate purely through a kind of constant rumbling flatulence, and that was which suggested to me either that I was going properly mad, and that's why, and I deserved to be there after all psychiatric wards are issued as standard a giant Native American man. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is just a remarkably well observed thing. Oh, somebody's
wow.
Comments. And that's my sister. Just put the link in the comments.
Oh, that's sweet. Hi there. Nice to meet you. So check out that article, and that's hilarious. I don't remember that from the article. That's amazing. So you said you got one more object for us?
We've got one more. This, I'd like to bring on my. I'm gonna just turn the camera around. So this is my wife, Nicoletta.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey.
You look great. You look great, darling. I love this object. So it's a really cool one. So
I'm not really one for material things, but one thing I do own that is priceless is this.
No, Dan, as a proud Australian, do you recognise that?
Recognize it.
Doc
No,
It's a band called The Boys Next Door with their album Door Door.
no, I don't know it.
Okay, so this was Nick Cave's band when he was 16.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's got Shivers on it. You might know Shivers.
Which was the birthday party song, wasn't it?
No, Shivers was in a film called Dogs in Space, which is this tiny film that was about the band scene that Nick Cave was in, called the Little Band Scene in Australia. But anyway, Shivers is the most famous one. They only made about 1,000 of these, and the record label it's released on, Mushroom Records, released one record, which is this, and then folded. However, what makes it extra special is I got it signed.
Oh wow.
And when I gave it to Nick Cave for him to sign it, he said, bloody hell, and then he signed it, and he said, that's probably the only one of those around. Like, he's probably not right. I don't doubt that Nick Cave signed one for, like, a lusty fan, but it's pretty... What?
Lusty
I love that. Has he pointed an arrow to his head just so you know who he is on the back?
He's pointed, yeah. Oh, it's coming up backwards because Instagram, but he's pointed an arrow to his head. Look,
Yeah.
look how he looks.
Wow. So how old is he in that photo? He's not 14 there, is he?
Like 16. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 16. And then my other favorite one is look at Roland S. Howard.
This is amazing. And Andy Warhol next to him. Very exciting.
Andy Warhol, yeah. Andy Warhol. So yeah, that's really special to me. Not only because I love this album, but because I don't think anybody else has assigned one.
Didn't he say he wasn't particularly fond of it?
Oh yeah. He said he hated it. Yeah. But I love it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. I bet he's still fond of it though. You know, I bet when he saw it, that was like,
Yeah,
yes.
he was genuinely shocked.
Yeah.
About it is I left after I got it signed, and I was so like kerfuffled, and I don't really get starstruck much, but I got so kerfuffled that I dropped the record after I signed it, and I was like, ah! It's fine, but
It's so cool. That is an amazing final object.
all right.
Yeah, that is cool. That, Mark, all your stuff useless. Useless.
Yeah, I know.
So this is let's bring this to a wrap. So this is a show called Show Us Your Shit, and as I said at the top, Mark, the extra bit of the title is or some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. The reason I've added that is I read a story that during World War II, P.G. Wodehouse was living in France, and he noticed out on his lawn a Nazi who was coming to the house to arrest him. So his wife and him figured they had 10 minutes to leave the house with all their valuable items, get in the car and drive out of there. So they spent 10 minutes grabbing the most important things. And P.G. Wodehouse only grabbed 3 things: a copy of Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. So my question for you is, you're in the same situation and you have those 3 items, but you can take one more thing. What's the one thing you flee your house with from the Nazis?
That's
No, that can come. Living creatures can come. Yeah,
fair.
But let's say hi to the cat though. Who's the cat?
This is Princess.
Hi, Princess.
He says meow.
That's Princess.
Cat bingo. We have. There's a bingo card that's been created for this show where it's all the recurring things, like I'm wearing a white shirt. Shit Wi-Fi is one, so you really helped us there at 2 moments in the show. What's your item?
My item, which is genuinely what I would take, which I realised I should have showed you before, is, and actually Dan, you will appreciate this, this. Let's get it into some light. Is this. This is my Ukrainian Soviet era bass guitar, which I bought, which I found on eBay and lovingly restored for more money than I should have thought it cost. And I had no idea how it would sound. It's completely unique. I've never seen another one like it. I've played it all over the world actually, and it sounds amazing. When I plugged it in, they were like, we're not sure how it's going to sound. It could sound like shit, and the pickups sounded absolutely incredible. So that is the thing I would save.
It's stunning. Ukrainian.
Yeah, well, I bought it from the Ukraine. It's Soviet. It's a Soviet era. The manufacturer is a Soviet era instrument guitar maker. It's from the sort of probably late 60s or early 70s. When I bought it, it had a 3-pin DIN port instead of a jack port.
What's
it
that?
Didn't have a jack. It had an
What's it? What, like a plug into a wall kind of thing?
No, 3-pin DIN is an old audio format. Like it's just this old electronic format. It's just.
Hey, that was me. That was me that time.
That
was me.
I knew I was going to get you back then because you'd frozen on the most ridiculous face, and I was like, brilliant, I'm going to screen grab this. And as I went to screen grab it, of course that was the point where you rematerialized.
That's okay. If you watch back, you can re-screen grab it. This is being recorded. That's amazing. As Button says, very worth saving from the Nazis. Absolutely.
And get my bass guitar, and you can hear that on our 2018 record, Double Negative.
Double Negative, awesome album. Yeah, so do make sure you listen to Mark's band. They are just awesome. Just for if you're into history, if you're into concepts and into good music, it's a perfect combination.
It's horrible histories for metalheads, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then you also, and I'll put this link on the new Facebook. So we have a Facebook group page, which is the Show Us Your Shit page. There's a page, but there's a group, and there's a lot of discussion going on the group. So I'll post a link to Mark's upcoming Terry Pratchett book, but that's it again. It's an incredibly shit time to be an author. Their sales of books are 80% down right now. So if anyone does have a few pounds spare, please help out authors who've done awesome books. And hopefully you'll be coming out your book in a bit that's just past the moment of shitness that we're going through. But I hope you are. But yeah, I'll put a link up there. Mate, what a show. Fantastic.
Impromptu fun show, wasn't it?
What a dude. And it's so nice to chat to you again. I haven't spoken to you properly in ages. And lovely to meet you as well. So nice. Let's hang out once this lockdown's over.
Once they let us meet other people in person, let's definitely do that.
Let's definitely do that. Yeah, Mark, thank you for saving the day, everyone's saying. It was awesome. We'll be back again tomorrow night. Same shit time, same shit channel, 9:30 p.m. on Instagram Live. And if all things go right, Shappy Corsandi will be the guest tomorrow. But it looks like every new show is going to bring up a new thing, so it might be someone completely different. Take care of yourself, shitheads. And Mark, take care of yourself too. And see you all tomorrow night. Night, dude. Thanks for doing that.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Lots of love. Bye.